Well folks, welcome to Inside the Fusee, where we're going to take a look at this rather poor condition fusee movement and just see if there's anything we can salvage from it. Or I kind of doubt we can use this one again, but you never know. The rust doesn't necessarily affect the brass, so let's have a look and see what we can do. So all we have here is the screw, which is there to remove the balance bridge. And let's see what happens when that comes off. Looks like a ruby, looks intact. Obviously dirty, but doesn't look like it's damaged. Okay, so we can see the screw here. It has a little bit of rust on it, but it is actually not too bad a piece. And the same goes for this. It is actually okay, and even the screws on the top are actually not too bad. They're certainly still usable anyway. What we often find with watches like this is they haven't been damaged. They've been there's been ingress of water, and so there's a bit of rust damage, but not necessarily any actual damage to the watch. So you can quite often find good components inside these. So what we can see there is balance wheel spring. I think that's a disintegrated spring, and I don't think there's much point trying to use that again. Other parts of this though do look like they could be reusable if you really wanted to, but you probably wouldn't want to. So some good parts here. So if we just rotate this around so you can see what's going on, and just here, look, this is the spring retention chock, and that's quite a good one. Looks in quite a good condition, so we can use that again. Okay, so you can see the rust has bubbled up, and this area here has pushed up the screw on this side, so we're just going to try and take that off now. That is disintegrating, so there's maybe not much chance. Okay, so it may well be that you can see half the screws rusted off and disappeared now. That where the damage here has come from is possibly somebody trying to get this off. So all the other screws are okay. And there are some rather attractive plates on this watch, so it was a bit of a shame really. Now as it happens, you can see the plate lifting there. That screw there was actually not attached anyway, so it hasn't been a problem. Okay, so that's what we see underneath. There's not any serious damage. It is a bit messy from corrosion there. So I've actually put the plate back at the back here because the fusee chain is still attached. I haven't diffused that yet, so although there isn't any cock on the other side of it, so it may well be okay as it is. So. Okay, so this is the underside of the piece we just removed. There you go, there's the piece we just removed. And you can see that it's actually the time lag adjuster, which is made of steel, which is rusted and bubbled up and forced it up. It sits in that recess. It just flicks up. They are usually quite good quality spring steel, these. So despite the appearance of that, it may well clean up okay. That what I have here is an old Dremel bit with the end snapped off, which I'm just going to use as a punch. And there you go. So there's the hole that it was in, and obviously there are no threads on this piece. The threads are in the body, so those are the remains of the rusty screw. I believe in watch terminology, they are called the motion works. So what we now need to do is discharge the fusee by removing the third wheel. Now if you look at the side of this, that is the fusee, and it doesn't appear to have very much tension on it, so I think that has been unwound. So I think there's very low risk with this of just releasing the release the third wheel and maybe hold on to the winder. When we take the third wheel away, you can see it's underneath there. That's a bit knackered. Not much left of that. Okay, so that leaves the last piece as being the ratchet that holds the fusee on. It needs to be pulled off. Okay, so it took a bit of effort to loosen that. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen here. Last time I did one of these, it went across the room. So this little wheel has held up well over the years, but as you can see, it's got a damaged tooth. This is called the barrel bridge. This is the barrel. You can see there the fusee chain seems to have just come off, so there obviously wasn't any tension on it. There's a bit of rust in there, and just tease that off a bit. Okay, so these pins, as we said in previous videos, they hold the watch together. Now that one there might need a little bit of work. Okay, so the next step, I believe this is what they call the big reveal. This is where you lift the top and you find there's a coiled up dragon inside. Or a horror story, which is probably more likely what you're going to find. So what we've got here is the overwind mechanism, which is intact by the looks of it. That's probably still quite serviceable, really. And then there's a bridge of some kind. I'm not really sure what that's for. We'll soon find out when we take it off, probably. And then underneath, this is what we see. That is pretty yucky. Ugh. Barrel. Okay, that's your fusee cone. And then we've got a right mess here. Oh, look at that. Yuck. Well, that's rusted pretty solid, and I'm not sure you would want to use those parts again. So I'm going to take them off with brute force. Although I have seen reconstructions on YouTube which have been considerably worse than this, actually. So you never know. That one's loose. What you might call encrusted. Okay, so the hinge is riveted, so that doesn't come off. And it remains now to take these catch pieces off. So that's the overwind spring mechanism. And the overwind itself, there's a little chock you have to take out. So what you do is you look for the thin end and push it out the other way. Okay, so that's probably rusted on a bit, but it will come off. Get your finger on it because it can ping across the room. and you move the spring, and there's a screw associated with the spring. And if you move over here, there's a bridge that has to come off as well. Not entirely sure what that one's for, to be honest, at this point, but there you go. Okay, so this is the barrel. Have a quick look inside. See if there's any spring brakes. Yes, there is actually a spring brake. Wow, that's interesting. I actually count 3 brakes that I can see. So this is no longer a good mainspring. So I've got quite a good barrel here, but the mainspring itself is broken in 2 places. That's usually a sign that the metal is fatigued. The actual spring is in need of replacement. So the last piece that I want to show you was the fusee cone, which is in actually pretty reasonable condition. Can't get inside of this one, so I don't know what it's like inside. But usually if it's been sealed well enough, then the inside probably won't be touched. They also have an intact fusee chain. I'll just try and get that in focus maybe. So you can see on one end it's got a nice little hook, and there isn't too much rust on it. And you got the other end, you can see the other hook's intact too. So that is quite useful. Okay, so here's our completed disassembled watch movement. We have 2 case pieces with, well, I don't know, very little damage really, except that there's a lot of iron rust corrosion which would have to be peg wooded out and sorted out. Bridge mechanisms, springs look okay. The case click is too rusty to reuse really. There's 1 or 2 jewels, in fact I think there's only 2 jewels in the whole watch, so it's not an expensive watch to start with. Barrel with a broken spring, but there's an intact fusee chain on here, and there's quite a nice fusee cone. And just here we've got some very rusted parts around about the release hammer and the escape wheel. At the top here we have some quite ornate bridge pieces, and the motion works for the clock. A third wheel which was almost destroyed. Pressure release cog here, which has got a cog missing. So you quite ought to repair this, and the return on this watch would be pretty low really, because it's a low jeweled watch, low quality watch. So okay, so you've seen some of the kind of problems that you can encounter. I'm going to sign off with this now. I'm not going to rebuild this watch, so thanks very much for watching, folks.